Tabular data for the model is entered from the configuration environment. By default, the advanced setup table is displayed, but for this lesson, we'll be focusing on the lists and groups accordion. So first, we will start with the shipper, where we will add 3 shippers, giving them all unique names. So, one at a time, we will activate shippers, and by double-clicking in the name field, we will edit the names. So the first one will be Devin. We can move to the second shipper by simply hitting Enter and begin editing the second shipper name for BP, and the third, Shell. Once we have edited our shipper names, we should save before we navigate to the next menu. So let's move on to pools now that we've saved. In this menu, we'll be creating 2 pools. The first pool, we'll give it a name of LS for light synthetic. And the second pool, we'll name HBY for heavy. Right now we don't need to worry about quality or the color of these pools. So let's save before we move on to the commodities. We will now be creating 3 different commodities. And we'll do the description first and come up with the abbreviations after. So the first will be Syncrude, followed by Cold Lake, and Shell Synthetic Light. So let's give these commodities some abbreviated names of SYN, CL, and SSX. The pool, which we have configured in the previous menu, will appear in a drop-down menu when you select the arrow in the pool field. So for Syncrude, we'll select Light Synthetic, Cold Lake will be Heavy, and Shell, Light Synthetic. The colors, we'll make them out of our choice of options. Let's go with orange, followed by indigo, and a differentiating green. Now let's update the qualities of these commodities. Starting with Syncrude, we can edit the gas, oil, and water properties of this commodity. For this lesson, only the oil values will be modified. The fraction volume we'll leave at 100%. The sulfur content weight will be 0.2, and the density will be 861. Now we will accept to lock in our values and move on to the next. CEL will have a fraction volume of 100. The sulfur content weight will be 0.87. And the density will be 923.4. And accept. And finally, SSX. Fraction volume leave at 100. The sulfur weight 0.11, and the density 865, and accept. Now that we've modified the quality of all of our commodities, let's save before we move on to Object Group. In this menu, we'll create a tank group to group our 2 tanks into one object group. So we'll simply name it Tank Group 1. And from the Objects drop-down menu, we will go to the drop-down for all of the items in the canvas, search for tanks, and check tanks 1 and 2. If we wanted to do that again and we had a lot more tanks than we could visibly see in the drop-down menu, we could simply select all of the tanks. We'll give it a quick description. and save our model.